And we're live, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good, man. I know it's been a while since we've been here. Obviously, you with the military obligation and me traveling around the state of Texas. Just came back from way out west, El Paso. I'm back on Friday, and we decided, hey, we need to get out some content. Saturday was pretty rough, I think, for both of us. Maybe just kind of catch our breath, and then decided we needed to do a live today and really go through what we've heard, obviously on the 40 acres from team position groups, baseball, 13 game, winning streak, and then basketball picking up a whole bunch of really transfers into the program and commits and so on and so forth. So it's pretty exciting week, man. We're trying to catch up too, just so we can regurgitate the information out as well. But first question, man, I'll leave it to you, man. So we first put this live out about 5 hours ago. And then Stephen Snell came in and gave us a $10 super chat. We do appreciate, really do appreciate that. And he asked us the question, and for some reason the questions fall off once they've been up there for a while. But the question was, why is the defense so far ahead of the offense in spring practice? Or what are your thoughts on that?
So first off, looking at the quarterback position, you got two guys who haven't had a whole lot of playing time in Casey Thompson and Hudson Card. So they're just trying to learn the system, understand what the Stark's asking from them on a day-to-day basis. Bijan is a true sophomore, although dynamic football player, probably going to be in that Doak Walker conversation along with the Heisman Trophy conversation. But again, you have receivers that have moved on. Brennan Eagles experience there. So you got a guy like Josh Moore. It's going to be his third season in the program after sitting out his sophomore year. You got Troy O'Meara, Jordan Whittington, who's missed time because of injury. Troy O'Meara hasn't played it down for the University of Texas. And you got an offensive line who's losing Samuel Cosme, several position changes, including Derek Kerstetter, who's out injured at this point. So what you've got is the defense is more experienced, what I believe, and they have the ability to just react. So his question was, why is the defense so at this point far ahead of the offense? I think it's because of that. The inexperience on offense, the experience on defense, and then because the defense has the ability to just react and play ball.
Yeah, I look at it like this too. When you're obviously, changing schemes, and again, I think Sark has said he's unloaded the entire offensive scheme on him at this particular point, and is you go from quarterbacks that obviously played from the shotgun in high school, probably held through junior high through high school, and then were predominantly in the all of their snaps were obviously out of the shotgun with the last staff. Now you're asking them to do things they haven't done before, or haven't done in a while, and that's playing under center. But at the same time, you have quarterbacks that obviously, like Jeremy said, they haven't had a lot of playing time. And now you got wide receivers that are running different route trees. So those combinations change, the timing changes. And that just takes a little time. And I think the biggest thing is that, like Jeremy said, defense is more reactive. They can react to the ball while it's in the air, and the wide receivers trying to react to what the defense is doing to them. So it's always been like that. I think the other thing is that you have two rush-ins at this particular point that are probably causing them a lot of chaos. And Jacoby Jones and Ray Thornton is what it sounds like. So getting that fixed from a line standpoint, and mix matching the lines and so on and so forth. And we'll get to probably at the end of this what we're looking for when we visit Austin this coming weekend for the spring game, what we're looking for from positions groups and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think that's it, man. I think it's always going to be like that, regardless of what team it is. But now you've thrown 5 or 6 playbooks at the offense, and you're expecting them to learn all that stuff while the defense is usually the same scheme, same base defenses, and so on and so forth. Where you're just changing really terminology and communication. It's the only thing that's really changed. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, so the fronts will change. But like Clint said, you got experience at the bookends with Jacoby Jones and Ray Thornton. You wanted to test those young tackles, whether it be Andre Carrick, Isaiah Hook, Finn, whoever's playing that position at right and left tackle. You want them to get challenged because we've always talked about, iron sharpens iron. You want your best position group that you ever go against to be in practice and not football game. So, yeah, throw a bunch of stuff at them. I know Kyle Flood's the kind of position coach that'll teach them after the practice. They'll look at film, they'll get better. They're young. Both those guys haven't seen the football field. So yeah, just continue to get after them on that defensive line to make that offensive line get better.
Yeah, I can tell you, me and Jeremy are trying to figure out this whole volume thing on the, before we started here. He's texting we're talking about I sound like Darth Vader. Jeremy's like I sound like I'm auto-tuned. We'll get through it. We'll get through this one and we'll fix it and kind of move forward and see what we need to do as far as the audio goes, man. But we appreciate it. Yeah, me and Jeremy were talking about it. Jeremy's like, damn, you sound auto-tuned. I was like, well, that's not a bad thing if I'm singing songs, I guess, right? Because everything's auto-tuned at this particular point in life as far as music goes. But we'll get through this one, man, and we'll see what the audio technical difficulties are. I'm changing things around and trying to use a new webcam to make things a little better, and then obviously changing. I was talking to Jeremy about headphones and so on and so forth moving forward. So just want to talk, obviously a little bit about position battles at this, or really positions at this particular point moving forward. We talked a little bit about the quarterbacks. It sounds like this one's probably going to go all the way through the summer and probably to the fall. Which to me is a really, 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 really good thing, man. I think the biggest thing is you probably need to temper expectations at this particular point with that position group. I think there's going to be some ebb and flows. I think there's going to be some ups and downs. I think there's going to be a lot of interceptions. I think there's going to be mistakes that are, but it's better to get those things out now and prepare yourself to be able to make better decisions going forward. Your thoughts, man, on the quarterback room?
No, like you said, challenge them. Like show them every single coverage or defense that you can to challenge their decision making, to challenge putting the ball in a tight window. Like if Troy O'Meara's making plays in practice, like double team him over the top of the safety to try to make him look off that first read. Again, move the defense around pre-snap. Once they come to the line of scrimmage, like show them a look and then change that look in order to make them better. Because again, these guys have arm talent. They have the athletic ability. He's talked about that time and time again in his press conferences. The deal is, can they run his playbook? Can they see things at the line of scrimmage that will basically enhance this football team, make weapons be weapons, find the right guy in the right circumstance each and every play to make this football team basically get the ball down the field and score points, because that's ultimately what you want to do. All gas, no brakes, put more points on the board than the other team, and put the pressure on them.
I think a lot of questions that come up is revolved around, obviously after they make a decision, who stays, who goes. Obviously, you hope both these guys go, stay regardless of the decision that's made. I think from Hudson Card's standpoint, you've where you're at, second year, so on and so forth, is not as big deal as really Casey Thompson. What does Casey Thompson do if Hudson Card wins the job? Obviously got Charles Wright there. That's currently on 40 acres is an early enrollee, which is a good thing, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation where it's, just an early enrollee and then, maybe a 2-year starter or, but he's got to make that decision. And I think this is the biggest decision he's going to have to make moving forward, is who is going to be a starting quarterback. But if there's one person I trust to pick a starting quarterback and feel comfortable about it, it's obviously, Steve Sarkisian. So running backs, man, it sounds like Roschon Johnson is taking this whole competition thing with Bijan Robinson, stepping it up a little bit. I think obviously quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, not a lot of experience. Not sure what you're going to get consistently from your offensive line at this particular point. You don't even realize you don't know who's going to be on that offensive line, but I think it's important to establish a running game early. And I think the running game is what is going to be the number one priority going into next year, man. And I think that's, obviously run to set up the pass and so on and so forth, man. But it sounds like Roschon Johnson came to compete, man. He understands that Bijan was a 5-star coming out of Arizona. Came there, I think ran for 600-700 yards over the last 3 games. But he came to compete, man. I'm really, really excited about them guys, man. And then it sounds like, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the one that just that sat out last year, coming out. Yeah, Daniel Young's doing some things too, man. Maybe short yardage back, man. I don't know what's going on there, but your thoughts on the running back?
No, yeah, depth at every position. Like, you want depth at running back, you want depth at quarterback, you want depth at receiver. You want, like, when the number one guy takes a breather, and we thought last year the number one guy identified himself really, really early. The previous coaching staff didn't see that, but one team needs to come off the field for those 1 or 2 plays, not 2 or 3 series. You want a guy who's has the ability to pick up the pieces and do what he has the ability to do. And Roshan's shown that since he came from PNG, that any circumstance you put him in, he's going to progress and he's going to continue to get better. He's going to continue to compete for 4 snaps. And you know that when Bijan goes off the field, that Roshan is a very capable back. Again, Alabama had multiple guys on campus that are first round picks, you know, with Najee Harris and it goes on and on and on with the kind of running backs that Alabama's been able to produce. Stan Drayton's shown that he has the ability to have multiple pros in the backfield at the same time when you talk about Carlos Hyde and Ezekiel Elliott with Ohio State. So you want Bijan to get as many carries as he possibly can, not to harm himself or harm the football team, but when it's his time to take a breather and come off the football field, Roshan steps up and has that ability. You want depth at every position.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, man, is obviously decoys, man. Be able to decoy, be able to pass catch the ball out of the backfield, which he says he's a natural hands catcher, man, which is important from a running back standpoint. And then, play action passing and motioning out to a receiver position, man. Those are the things where you're breaking up in the monotony of what the plays look like. And I think he's going to throw 1,000 plays out there. Majority of the plays will be the same, but the formations are different, and I think that's how you change it up and you keep it consistent where you're not, punt, pat, or what is it? Run, pass the entire time. And it is run. If it is run, you may run the same play out of 2 different formations, and you keep the defense guessing and so on and so forth. But they asked, obviously Coach Sarkisian. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, real quick. So what motion allows you to do, and these guys understand this, is create mismatches. It shows you, first off, to that young quarterback what the defense is doing. Are they in man? When you motion them out and a linebacker rolls with them, then you got man coverage. But what it also does, like I said, it identifies the defense, and it also allows you to create mismatches at the second level, whether it be, Bijan on a linebacker, Roshan on a linebacker, whether it causes the whole defense to push to one side and get what would be a Jordan Whittington or Josh Moore or Troy Amir. Like I said, you can't have enough weapons, and what motion allows you to do in circumstances like you do. And Alabama really showed this against Ohio State when they got Devontae Smith on the linebacker multiple times with that motion and then brought him back. That's Sark's offense in a nutshell. Is, hey, how many different ways can I put my guy, who I think is better than your guy, in circumstances to beat you? And so, yeah, depth of ball on the front. If you can have that with Bijan, that's one thing. But if you can if that same circumstance comes up and it's Roshan, then you never lose that advantage, regardless of who's in the football game. Is what you're trying to create, essentially.
Yeah, they asked Sarkisian, about, obviously, short down yardage plays, and he said, well, his answer to them was, obviously, I'm not changing my playbook overnight. We're not becoming a run, because they asked him, about running his quarterback, on short down yards, and he was like, absolutely not. He's like, I'm not turning into a quarterback run offense overnight. I'm going to expect, obviously, these running backs to pick up these short down yards, man, which I thought was really, really, really nice, man. I'm gonna try something real quick. I'm actually gonna take the volume off. Somebody said I sound like DJ Screw, or like Screwed on Chopped, which I like DJ Screw. We that's our era about the '90s. I'm a fan of UGK, Pimp C and Bun B, so definitely like that music out of Houston. But I'm gonna try something real quick, man. I'm gonna try to use the microphone out of the computer versus the one here. So let me change that up. You can keep talking, Jeremy, while I try to do that real quick. So
now we'll wait on. So the next topic we were going to talk about was pretty much the wide receivers. Like, we understand that Jake Smith's out because of injury. We understand that Troy Amir is doing great things, and Steve Sarkisian kind of talked about an analogy of a home run hitter versus a guy who hits 230 but doesn't have the ability to hit home runs, or hits 300 but doesn't have the ability to hit home runs. So what he's looking for in a receiver is the guy who makes every play that they're, every ball that's thrown to them, they're allowed to be a possession receiver, but they have the ability to hit a home run every now and then. So your thoughts on this current receiving core?
I think it's really good, man. Can you hear me now? I don't know.
Yeah, much better. Much
yeah,
better.
much better. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah, y'all let me know if it's much better there. I think I just went straight to the computer and not using the actual the microphone here. So somebody said I sound really, really deep. It may be because I'm really, really tired. I can tell you that me and Jeremy have been working really, really hard at work for the last couple of weeks. I drove 1,000 miles, 500 miles, about 500 miles out to El Paso on Thursday, turned around or did some work that night, and then turned around the morning of, did a little work, and then drove straight from El Paso back. So maybe the deep voice because I'm tired. But yeah, it's been a long week for me and Jeremy, and we're excited to be on here. And I know Jeremy, I think we got the voice stuff down. Jeremy was asking me about receivers. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. Home run hitters versus average guys.
To me, the biggest thing, and I actually was, I told Jeremy I've been watching my wife and daughter out of town, so I've kind of taken over the game room. They're usually in the game room, so I've kind of pulled up a whole bunch of YouTube, and I was watching. I watched Kansas State, then I watched the Colorado game, but I also went back and I started watching huddle film and YouTube videos of Jake Smith and Jordan Whittington. And it sounds like Jordan Whittington is almost a combination of a running back and wide receiver in this offense at this particular point. One of those motion guys, motion back to the running back, maybe have a two running back set, bring it back out to wide receiver, motion these guys in and out. To me, if everybody remembers, Jordan Whittington, man, came out of 5-star out of high school in 2019? Yeah, that 2019 class. It would not surprise me if you did not see Jordan Whittington get back to that caliber of athlete in this offense. That's what I'm surprised about. But when you're talking about, wide receivers, I think he wants speed on the field. He wants speed on the field. Guys that can get out of breaks, guys that get separation, that you can hit them in space. So I think the times of your big wide receivers in this offense are probably going to go away. I think Troy Mary's probably going to be your biggest wide receiver. And he's probably going to be your probably go-to wide receiver. But when Steve Sarkisian did his press conference this week, he actually had a good analogy when it came to baseball. And that baseball analogy is you can get a home run hitter that's only going to hit home runs, right? But he bats 200. But then you get that guy that's batting average, the top of the lineup guy that's on your on base guy that's getting on base damn near 50% of the time. But he's hitting 300, but he doesn't hit home runs, right? He says we need to get all these guys in a box where they're able to hit home runs, but they're also able to be every down wide receivers that can go out there and catch the ball when we need them to catch the ball. It's perfect analogy, man. It was just like that.
That's a hard guy to find.
Yeah.
As a baseball fan, that's a hard guy to find. Like we're Ranger fans, and it's going to hurt Johnny Muniz because I know he's an Astros fan. Haven't seen him pop up on the podcast tonight, but I watch him tweet about Astros stuff. But Joey Gallo used to be a 215 hitter, but he would hit 40, 50 bombs. But you get so frustrated because you never found a way to get on base, but he would produce runs. And same thing with I don't know. And with this current Rangers roster, I really can't equate it. But you got a guy like Rougned Odor was the same way before he got traded. Was a home run hitter, but didn't hit for average. But then you got these guys who can get on base with a 500 on base percentage because they draw a lot of walks, but they don't have any power. Like they're only driving in 50 runs a season. So it's hard to find. I think T.O. is probably your guy. I think Josh Moore has that ability too. I think Josh Moore, doesn't drop the football and made a lot of big plays last year along with Brendan Eagles, but that was all you had as far as big play receivers. And I don't think Jordan Whittington ever lost his athleticism, and I don't think Stark's going to make him better. I just think dealing with the core injury that he had to deal with his freshman year and then coming back, I just don't think we've seen the 100% healthy version of Jordan Whittington and or Jake Smith since they walked on the campus at UT. I don't.
I can agree with that. I'll agree with the injury thing, but I think schematics plays a part in that too.
Yeah.
I think schematics put you in positions where I'm if I'm motioning you out of the backfield now, I've got you on a safety, but I'm Jordan Whittington. I'm going to win that battle all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? And Texas Homer says it right, man. You want less plays to score. Absolutely. At this particular point, you want less plays to score because the more plays you run, the more that you're going to get yourself, there's a possibility you get yourself in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Negative plays, interceptions,
turnovers,
and so on and so forth.
penalties.
So, hey, want to thank J-Bo, man, here for this, for the super chat, $4.99. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, J-Bo. Hands down, my favorite Texas sports channel. We appreciate that, man. We wish we could get on here a lot more at this particular point, but I can tell you that work's had us crazy. And but I think as we move forward, hopefully it gets a little easier. I think we get these these hard couple of months out of the way, man, and then it's kind of smooth sailing, hopefully for a little bit. So
we just want to be on when it matters, which is in the fall, starting in September. Like we'll be here for summer camp, like Clint said. We'll be at the spring game next Saturday. Hopefully you guys can join us out there. We'll probably do. We plan to meet very, very early in the morning in Round Rock, and then get to the stadium around 10:30, 11 o'clock, go into the game. And then maybe as he heads down to San Antonio and I head back up to Copper's Cove, hopefully we can have like a after the spring game live show, probably 4 o'clock the game ends, or we get home about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We could probably do a show 6 or 7 o'clock next Saturday evening, talking about what we saw at the Texas spring game. Pack your sunblock, dude.
So Tracy Williams,
went on the football field, we got burnt.
Yeah. So Tracy Williams says, so we talked about what we like so far with the upcoming team. What do we dislike at this particular point right now?
And it was the topic me and Clint were kind of talking about pre-show was offensive line and linebacker. And it's not that we don't like it. We don't trust it at this point because of lack of depth. It's the same thing we talked about since the season ended. But they got a lot of guys, Junior Angulau moving from left to right side of the offensive line. Denzel Okor, Christian Jones, Andre Carrick, and Isaiah Hookfin. Not a whole lot of snaps for that offensive line with the loss of Samuel Cosme. Derek Kerstetter still recovering from an injury. And then the linebacker core. If Juwan Mitchell truly does go out the other side of the transfer portal, and you're left with DeMarvion Overshown, David Bendis showed out. Like, I really trust what Steve Sarkisian says, and I trust Coach Choate's ability to coach up the linebackers. But David Bendis, Jalen Ford, Hullaby, those guys, sounds like Brendan Schooler's getting some play at linebacker. The two positions that I think need to be solidified or getting stronger out of spring and into summer, it needs to be offensive line linebacker.
Yeah, just like Jeremy said, we had talked about this before we came on. We were talking about, obviously as we go to spring, when we go to the spring game, what are we going to be obviously looking at? To me, it's offensive line and linebacker. To me, every time that, obviously they asked Steve Sarkisian about a player there, his eyes light up when he's talking about David Benda, which gives me a lot of hope because obviously and I think if you go back and look at Jalen Ford in that Kansas State game, the second half of the Kansas State game, in the first half of that Colorado game, there you can see that it's there. The lights are coming on, but it's not consistent enough. You know what I'm saying? It's like going back and watching Christian Jones play left tackle. It's not consistent enough. You know what I'm saying? Over really multiple snaps. He's beating the guy, and then all of a sudden he's getting beat. And I think you got to be consistent if you're playing that left tackle role. Same thing with Tyler Johnson at the offensive line. You can see in that Colorado game, pancake, and then all of a sudden it's a missed block on a stunt. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's always killed the offensive lines of Texas is stunts. And I don't know if that's just poor coaching to the stunts, and hopefully Kyle Flick can fix that. But it's like every time we go into a football game, if it's not Oklahoma, if it's not, Colorado, if it's not Kansas State, we're always getting beat on stunts. But I think it's just consistency of the offensive line and linebackers at this particular point. I feel really, really good about the cornerbacks. I feel really good about the safeties moving forward. We'll get into that just here in a few minutes, man. So hopefully that answered your question. But really, really, really excited moving forward. So what we got? Where we at on notes? Where we at? Talked about wide receivers. You want to talk about tight ends?
We talked about we can talk about tight ends.
Okay. Tight ends. It looks like the tight ends are picking it up and putting it down from a position group. Sounds like they're understanding the scheme, understanding the job they need to do. If it's 11 personnel or 12 personnel, multifaceted. I think that's what you're getting out of those guys. And it's, if you go back and you watch, I think Bijan's first touchdown, I want to say first touchdown or second touchdown in that Colorado game, you'll be surprised by the tight end that made that block. Really, really, really good. I can tell you that each one of those tight ends that I was worried about them blocking, or actually, if you go back and watch these games, they're doing really, really good at blocking.
And they're big guys. Like Jared Watt, we talked about it. Jared Watt is a big guy. Malcolm Epps is a big guy. Cade Brewer, that's what his specialty is blocking. So putting a hat on a hat is probably not a deal, not a thing for these guys. It just, like you said about it earlier, with the linebacker core and the offensive line, it just seems to be more consistent. And we don't know what we're going to see. We know the last coaching staff didn't take advantage of what these guys' strengths are. And that's put them in a phone booth, put them on a 5'11", 6 foot cornerback or safety, and allow them to go to work, allow them to rebound the basketball, essentially. Use their strengths to help you win football games, to make plays. So yeah, I'm not surprised by what I've heard about Gunnar Helm. I'm not surprised about what I've heard of Juan Davis. I'm not surprised, what Malcolm Epps brings to the football field or a football team. And Jared Wiley, we've seen it last year, how they were able to make plays, explosive plays from that tight end position.
Yeah, Gunnar Helm was obviously recruited to Iowa, which is really tight end university at this particular point. He was recruited there to play there, so obviously he's got the skills to play tight end. If Iowa seen it, and Texas stole him from Colorado, and again, obviously young snaps, obviously early enrollee coming in, trying to take on a brand new offense and trying to take on classes and all these other things. Obviously, it's going to be pretty tough. But at the same time, man, it sounds like that to me, it's probably I would say the room that probably has the most depth at this particular point may be that tight end room. As far as consistency goes from 1 to 5, which, you obviously got Jeff Banks, tight end coach, special teams coach, you pay him $1 million to come in and be your coach, tight end coach, produce good tight ends, man, tight ends, but it sounds like they're the ones that do the most in the offense, man. Everything's kind of based around what the tight ends do. And I think that's because it's multi-formational. You might see 3 tight ends at one particular point, 2 tight ends, 1 tight end, 1 tight end sets back and H-back, but they're going to be asked to do a lot in this offense, man. So.
And again, it really brings into point what Jatavian Sanders' position is going to be when he gets here in the fall. Is he going to join that room, or is he going to play defensive end? Because I think those are 2 areas on this football team, talking about the transfer of Thornton and Jacoby Jones, has some depth at this point. Is that rush in, that jack linebacker from the last system, that rush in is these guys, from what we hear, are doing really, really well. So what room does Jatavian Sanders find himself in when he gets to the 40 acres? It's one of those 5-star problems, you know what I mean? Like, where does he help the football team? Where does he want to play, number one? What are those conversations that he's had with the coaches?
That's a tough one right now.
Since he signed that letter of intent, right?
To me, it's a tough one. But if you go back, if I was looking at the experience and I was looking at in depth from a position, I'm going to have to say he's probably going to me bookend at this particular point, because again, it's a bookend for this season. Does that make sense? I think you look at him there, but as far as long-term potential, somebody just brought up Kyle Pitts on here. I think he has that potential to be that tight end. But right now, where you stand with Brewer, Epps, it's the depth is there for that tight end room side. I just don't think you need him there at that particular point. So, but the way Jacoby Jones is playing and Ray Thornton are playing, I don't know. You kind of, as a coach, you got to make a decision. The other coach is going to be fighting over it. Tracy Williams, again, it's funny because me and him must have watched some film or something this weekend, because he asked me, y'all think Dicker the kicker had a slump last season? And it was after that missed field goal at Iowa State, going into Kansas State and going into Colorado. It was a mess. I don't know if he got in his head after that missed field goal to tie it. Obviously it's a long field goal. I don't know what it was, 52, 53 yards, maybe upwards 57-yard field goal to tie it against Iowa State. Missed it. But after that, in Kansas State, you go look at Kansas State, you go look at, Colorado, he missed multiple field goals. And I don't know. I think he got into his head. I think he really did. I don't know if it's much slump. Hopefully, Jeff Banks, again, special teams guy, hopefully he can get him centered on and out of his head. But I think it was a head thing.
And he definitely has the talent. The leg talent is not a question. Like you said, it's probably a mental thing that he got into last year. And that kid from Flower Mound, who we've seen on multiple Twitter videos, has a lot of leg talent coming behind him as a preferred walk-on. But, I don't know if it was a slump, because the kicks like you asked him to make in crucial situations were gimmies. You know what I mean? Like I don't think he missed inside 40 yards. I mean, I don't really pride myself on knowing kicker stats, but I think Dicker has the leg talent. I don't worry about him going forward. And you asked him to punt. You asked him, when Brian Bachevsky got hurt, he had to do both roles late on in the season. And from what we've heard, he's currently holding the punting position as we know it so far in spring. So something else for us to look at going the spring game to see how he hits the ball, and if Isaac Pearson could challenge him, for that punter position while Brian Bachevsky's out. Something else to keep an eye on next Saturday.
But I did notice that. I was watching those games. I'm like, damn, he's shanking them like either far right or far left. It was not, they weren't close, and I just don't know if he got into his head at the end of the season. Confidence thing. I think confidence or having to hold down multiple jobs, as a punter in doing field goals. So there you go. That was a nice little break. Talk about, special teams, which don't get a lot of play on here. I like
I said, anytime you can nail a game-winning field goal against Oklahoma, as a true freshman, as confident as you were making that kick, you could probably go the other way by missing one that's just as crucial. That swag that he had when he winked, on the sidelines before that kick against Oklahoma. I think it could go the other way as well. But hopefully we don't have to worry about field goals next year. Hopefully all he has to do is kick extra points because we're putting the ball in the end zone. That's what I want to see.
There you go. That's perfect.
That's the answer, right?
Yeah, that's perfect. So moving away from, I think that's offense at this point. I think wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, running backs, quarterbacks, we nailed them all, right? I think we're going to move to probably where I feel the most confident, probably the best position room on the team. Let's move to defensive line, man. Defensive line. Do you feel as confident as I do in that defensive line?
Love that room. And I think that room's just going to get better with the guys coming in the fall. Again, T-Sweat, Coburn, Alfred Collins, probably the most talented dude on that side of the football. Vernon Broughton. I mean, you're hearing great things about the transfers that came in. Ray Thornton, OV's here now from Notre Dame. I think that's going to be the strength of the football team, and I think we need to utilize them as much as we possibly can, stopping the run and putting pressure on the passer from mainly the interior. Like we talked about it. Quarterbacks can step up with that pass rush from the outside. I want those guys that I just talked about in his face, and I think that Pete Kwiatkowski has a scheme to take advantage of the talent that he has from that front four. Bo Davis, the same. I really look for big things from that echelon of the football team coming into this next football season.
They're so athletic, it's crazy. Even if you're looking at Coburn, you're looking at Sweat, how quick twitch they are. For as big as they are, and again, that's that interior pass rush, man. And if you got an interior pass rush, and you got a Ray Thornton and a Jacoby Jones or more a Jomo or whoever is, who else is coming around from that outside, from defensive, or DeMarvion Overshone or Nickelback coming up or whatever the case may be. It's dangerous, man. And again, it's crazy because we get on here and we talk about names and names and names and names and names. We always miss people. In this, the defensive line is so stacked. You're looking at individuals like Myron Warren, I think, who was dancing on the most recent video. I think he was over there dancing. I don't know if you've seen that yet, Jeremy. It is a clip from practice day where a couple of guys were up there dancing. And then Sorghorn Welch, Vernon Broughton, who didn't have a lot of playing time last year. He didn't, but like you said, probably the most talented guy on that side of the ball. In Alfred Collins is going to have an opportunity to do great things, man. And you got a defensive line coach like Bo Davis coming back to Texas. to get these guys where they need to be at, man. To me, this is probably the most dominant part of our team at this particular point. And like you said earlier, it's nice that the offensive line can go against these guys each and every day, make them that much better going into, because again, if you're playing guys like this, man, and it makes each and every week that much easier going against guys that aren't as that high caliber. So
yeah, and we talked about Obi. Just looking at the comments, we talked about Obi, and I'm not so sure Ben Davis has signed. And again, we on this channel we don't talk about guys if they haven't signed that letter of intent. Again, folks talk about tampering all the time. Again, we won't mention folks until we know they're on campus. But yeah, just like you talked about the depth on this defensive line, you got raw talent coming in. Like a guy like Jordan Thomas coming in the fall. You got quick twitch guys like Byron Murphy from our alma mater, DeSoto, who's another quick twitch guy, a little bit shorter guy, but 330 pounds of quick twitch, fast off the ball. They can challenge for playing time. And I think this defensive line continues to churn out talent. And like I said, I think it's the strength of the football field or the football team, and it needs to show itself on the football field in the fall. Because again, pressure up the middle can make hay for quarterbacks in this league, whether it be Spencer Rattler or any other quarterback they come into contest with in the fall.
So Tex Homer, we appreciate that, man. He said both those guys have told us their coaching staff they're coming. Hey, if they come, hey, more the merrier, man. Definitely more the merrier. Hey, get these guys on the 40 acres, get them on there now. Defensive line matters, man. Defensive line matters in as much chaos as you can cause up front on the opposing offense, the better, So grab as many of these guys as you can, man, at this particular point, especially on the defensive line. Moving back to the linebackers, we've talked about it a little bit. I'm excited about David Benda. Obviously, DeMarvion Overshown's, hurt at this particular point. But, it sounds like Brendan Schooler may have went from wide receiver to safety, maybe moving him down to linebacker to be able to fill that role a little bit as well. I think this is where I have a lot of question marks going right now. Obviously, Juwan Mitchell's in the transfer portal, hasn't exited the transfer portal, but it doesn't sound like he's coming back to the football team for whatever reason. Your thoughts, man? Obviously, Jalen Ford showing out as well, doing some things that just, I think what he talks about, Sark talks about is consistency.
I got to have five guys. Right now, I feel like you said, listen to David Benda's media availability. I feel like he's ready to go. So David Benda, Dio. After that, looking at Jalen Ford, Hullaby, guys that are coming in this year, and Harris. There's Maurice Blackwell. There's plenty of candidates to make this linebacker core that 5 or 6 deep. Again, if you move Brendan Schooler down. Again, his brother was an all-conference linebacker last year at Texas Tech. So I think in his body looks that 6'3", 6'4", and somebody will have to help me where he is currently. But he looks like he's 6'3", 6'4", 220, 225 pounds at this point. So yeah, dropping him down. We talked about dropping Owens down in the linebacker core. He kind of hinted to that, but from what we've read, that's not happened yet. So there's candidates out there. But yeah, give me 4 or 5 dudes who I feel like can come in the football game and make plays. And I know you have one, DeMarvion Overshown. I feel like you got one at David Benda. And then Jalen Ford, like you said, is showing out and played really, really well in brief stints against Kansas State and Colorado last year. But give me 2 or 3 more guys and that's, again, another key position we're going to be looking at next Saturday when we go to the spring game.
It's run fits for me, man. Defensive line is going to lift all the heavy work, man, for you. And I think that's what's important about this defensive line being as good as it is. It's going to take some pressure off that second level linebackers. And then to me, I think somebody was talking about there being concern at the secondary. So right now, the secondary to me is not a concern. If I was to put a concern on, between 1 and 10 as far as concern level for the secondary, I'd put it 3. I think these guys are going in and competing every day. Dunn, I think everybody thought that Dunn was probably going to come in and steal one of those cornerback positions, but I think Josh Thompson's probably giving him all that he wants as far as the competition goes. Jameson, the same thing, man. Jameson's got some guys behind him. Crawford, Barron, those guys are behind him, pushing him. To me, BJ Foster is going to be BJ Foster. And then, obviously Jaron Thompson at that safety, position, obviously inexperienced, not a lot of playing time, came in the last couple of games last year, played against Kansas State, played against Colorado when Stearns decided to opt out, played really, really well. A couple of interceptions, man. And, but there was a couple of, obviously some mistakes he made and some blown coverages as well, but you're going to see that from these young guys. But the more experience you get, the more you run these plays, the more you understand the schemes. Those things go away. But to me, that as good as that defensive line is, I think the way the secondary is looking right now, to me, it helps mitigate the risk that you have at that second level. Obviously, until DeMarvion Overshown gets there and the experience.
And I feel a lot better about the corners than I do about the safeties. Like, I know that BJ's there. I know Jaron Thompson's there. Who are my third and fourth safeties? But yeah, I totally agree with Dunn, Jameson, Crawford, Adamora, Cook. When we start doing this, we're going to leave people out. But I feel really, really good about the cornerback position. If you're dropping Brendan Schooler down to safety, then or to linebacker, then you obviously feel good about the safeties. Is it JD Coffey? Is it who are those third and fourth safeties that you're looking at to solidify that position if you don't have Schooler back there? Because again, he was an all-conference Pac-12 safety in his freshman year at Oregon. So if you're moving him from safety to linebacker, then you obviously feel good about who your third and fourth guys are. And is that JD Coffey? Who is that? Who are those third and fourth guys?
To me, it may be
next Saturday.
It may be an Adamora. It may be an Adamora because Cook's playing well at the nickel position. You know what I'm saying? And
right. I
forgot the nickel position. I'm talking about cornerbacks and safety, and I totally forgot about the nickels, man, and Cook and Adamora, and the guys that are behind them. And I think right now, I'll give it to him, man, that last staff put together really good defensive back classes. Multiple defensive back classes. And you got, 6'1" Ishmael Ibrahim coming in, Jamel Johnson, who's an early rollie out of California that's doing really, really well. So again, I think that Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon got some parts to work with in that secondary to make it work. Probably outside of the defensive line and maybe the running backs, man, I feel really, really good about the secondary. Quarterback competition is going to be, obviously through, through the summer, obviously through spring and then summer into, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't find out who the starting quarterback is about a week before game time. So
yeah, and that's the way it should be. Like we talked about it. A lot of it, folks say on 104.9, or we listen to a couple of shows on 104.9, and I listen to them say, why would you make a decision, early? Because then you have to worry about that second quarterback. And I think you talked about this a little bit earlier, entering the transfer portal. I think these guys are here to stay. I think Casey Thompson's here to stay. I think Hudson Card's here to stay. We've done an interview with Charles Wright. We know he's a Texas guy through and through. I don't think you have to worry about these three guys transferring, but at the same time, you want it to be an open competition that leads to those last 10 days before you play against Louisiana this fall, because you want to continue to push them. You want to continue to have that competition in each and every room, regardless of where it is, whether quarterback, running back, offensive line, tight end, receiver. You want to push these guys to be better. And how do you do that? Through competition. So you don't want to give that position to a guy in the spring. You want to continue to push them as you go through summer. And again, 10 days before fall, for that first game, you want that depth chart to be who's earned it. And how do you do that? By continuing to create competition through each and every practice, each and every rep, that you're on the football field, essentially.
To me, Tyler Owens, it's 247 is one that actually put him as a 5-star, and I think other ones probably had him not even really that high. I don't know what to expect from him, because again, this is the second coaching staff, I'm not aiming at Tyler Owens. I try to stay away from, talking specific about players, but two coaching staffs have said that his speed is not the same as his game speed. the speed that he has, track speed is not the same as his game speed, and that's a concern. That's a concern for me because I don't know if it's just lack of experience playing football, which I don't think he started playing football until his junior year. So maybe this may be only his fourth year, if I'm correct.
That's true.
Fourth year playing football.
Yep.
But this is the second coaching staff that he says that he doesn't play at the speed in which he should be playing. And I don't know if that's overthinking it or not understanding the game of football in its totality or just not having enough experience. But that's something to watch moving forward, man, really is with Tyler Owens is highly recruited. I mean, as highly ranked as he was coming out, of high school from 247, man, just something to watch, man. I haven't figured it out yet. We think he's bring him down in the box kind of guy like you did with Marvin Overshown. But again, it's different. It moves faster down there than it does back there. You have an opportunity you can't anticipate. You have to anticipate faster to me in the box than you do if you're 18 yards down the field.
You do, but your reads are less. Your reads are less though. When you're talking about coverage schemes from a safety position, you have to understand what everybody else, the corners are doing. As a linebacker, I think yes, you got to run. You got to understand run versus pass and what your pre-snap reads are, where guys are going. But I think a run fit as a linebacker or a coverage fit as a linebacker is a whole lot less than whether you're as a safety. And the damage that if you make a misread as a safety can cause a football team is a whole lot less than at the linebacker position, in my mind. Like you get beat over the top as a free safety, guy running down the middle like a Josh Moore, game over. But if your job responsibilities are the tight end and their route tree versus a run fit, I think it's a little bit less. I've always thought his body was conditioned to be a linebacker. I've always thought that he had the instincts to play linebacker. And again, you're talking about his limited experience. It hurts. It hurts more at that safety position than it does as a linebacker. So, and I thought the time to do it would be this spring. And when I saw him hint about it, I think that's where he needs to go. I do. I don't know if he's ever going to see the football field as a safety in this program. I don't.
So Jeffrey Kaminsky said, slow it down for Owens. Go blitz. That's what I need you to do. Get on the edge and go blitz, man. When I let you in, take that speed. Don't worry about anything. Run it around whoever you need to and go blitz. We'll see where that is, man. Because I can tell you, if you're on Twitter, man, that was huge when he came down and said, "Hey, could you see me and obviously Do playing in the box together?" Got really, really excited. And then, it sounds like Sarkisian said, "Hey, pump the brakes on that a little bit." Yes. We haven't done that yet. We're still playing safety, but yeah, we'll kind of see, man. So it sounds like they're playing with Brendan Schooler and Tyler Owens a little bit to kind of see where they work best, man. And I think that's important, man, because it goes back to Jeff Howe asked, Sarkisian the question, I think it was this week, man, about positionless football. It was are you going to and it was about defensive backs. It's always about defensive backs with positionless football, or not defensive, but positionless football. And he asked him, do you have a specific guy you're looking for? And he said, we need multifaceted guys that can come downhill, make tackles, but at the same time be able to play coverage, man. It doesn't matter what they look like. Just get these guys, man. So we'll see.
So I got some guys that are disagreeing with me, and I got some guys that are agreeing with me in this forum. Again, I don't think he plays safety in this program. I don't. You guys are saying that he can't get off blocks. I want to see him have the opportunity to get off blocks. I have not seen him play linebacker at this school. What I haven't seen him play is free safety or strong safety at this school, which is the position he's currently at. So I just think just my thought process is if he hasn't seen the football field in the current position he's at, then why not try him someplace else that I think he would have the chance to flourish at. His body is built for a linebacker. I said this about Marvin Overshown 2 years ago, and nobody did it until last year, and he got there and he flourished. I'm just saying, I don't know about his inability to read blocks. Like, I don't think that's a thing. If he's that fast, then he won't get touched by blockers. He'll shed blocks and get to the ball carrier. It's just Me and Humber are just going to have to disagree on this one, man. But that's why we do this show. He has his show and he believes a certain way, and I believe totally different.
And I may even be in David Williams' corner at this particular. I want to be hopeful about Tyler Owens. Unfortunately, I currently view him as an athlete, but not a football player. He has not done anything to show he will be productive. I agree with that. That's what the question. That's what the original question was about. This original question wasn't about if he's going to play safety or if he's going to play linebacker. It's like, what do we expect from Tyler Owens coming out as highly recruited as he was on his potential from 247? What is he now? And you cannot figure it out. I don't think anybody can figure it out. I think the coaching staff is having a hard time figuring it out. He's an athlete that's not a football player. And I think I'm not saying that he can't become a football player over time. What I'm saying is if he only played 4 years, I think he started playing high school, his junior year of high school. Where'd he go? One of the Plano schools, right? I think he was at one of the Plano schools. Plano East. He played only 4 years, I think. So it's not that he can't get to that level where he could be a football player. I think right now he's a track guy that's trying to figure out football.
And all I'm saying is liability for the team, the best place for him to cover up that inexperience would be at linebacker. And the less thinking that he would have to do is at linebacker. That's all I'm saying is those two things that you're talking about. Inexperience will at the safety position will get you beat for 60-yard touchdowns, post route, post corner. At the linebacker position, you have a little bit more flexibility, and it's not that damaging. And for a guy that has to read the defense, his position would not have to – he's going to play weak side, right? So he's going to play DeMarvin Overshown's position. He's not going to play middle where he's calling the defense. And so, like I said a little bit earlier, his responsibility is going to be the tight end. And when he realizes the tight end's not releasing, it's to the run game. And his ability to shed blockers or get off blocks, we'll have to see. But what I'm saying – with what you're talking about is lack of experience playing 4 years of football. I think that would be beneficial to getting him down the linebacker court.
Yeah. Again, I think it's time. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
Jawan Mitchell was the middle linebacker. DeMarvin Overshown's the weak side linebacker.
We'll see. We'll see moving forward how that works itself out, man. Enough about Tyler Owens. This is a big point. I'm sorry for bringing up that question, man, but it's one. You got a big guy. You really can't figure out what you need to do with him. DeMarvin Overshown, I think he would have played safety really well. I think he would have been a safety, but I think the need and the want in to do what's best, for him. Chris Ash told him where he needed to play at, and they brought him down, and he's doing great things with about 18, strands around his arms and legs and stuff. I think I counted a whole bunch of them. So, man, that got really exciting. I'm trying to lost my train of thought there, man. Go ahead.
I totally enjoyed the back and forth though, because we all want what's best for this program and what's best for these kids. You know what I mean? Like we see things. Like I said, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but Clint can tell you when I saw DeMarvin Overshown compete in the Under Armour All-American game 3 years ago, I said he has to be a linebacker. And I kind of see the same traits and abilities, if not just for body type, in this young man. And again, if he's not going to see the field in a certain position, then I'd like to see him have the opportunity to flourish somewhere else. That's why I'm talking the way I'm talking.
Yeah. No. It's good. Yeah. So I want to see this Gideon video. I'm not sure where we can find that at Tech Summer. So if you can put the link somewhere, I'm pretty sure that people may want to watch that. I'm not sure what that is. It's just right now, to me, defensive backs, safeties, again, I think where I feel right now most comfortable is defensive backs and safeties on the defense. I think that level, that second level is going to need some work and so on and so forth. And that closes out the defense, man. So we've gone through the entire offense. We've gone through the defense. I know me and you are excited about the spring game. We'll both be there fairly early on Saturday. Really excited about that. I know me and you're obviously going to be looking at offensive line in that linebacker position we're talking about right now. We'll see where people are playing, man, on that game, and it sounds like it's going to be He's going to split up the team, and it's going to be offense, not just offense versus defense, but it sounds like they're going to be, like a
roster versus roster.
Yeah, roster versus roster, which sounds which is exciting because you kind of figure out what the hell's going on. They score a touchdown if it's, defense 2, offense 1, or whatever the case may be. So I'm really excited about that as well. So we'll be there really early on.
Absolutely,
Saturday, so.
Love to do what we do because we just spent probably 10 minutes of a 60-minute show talking about a young man who, again, hasn't contributed a whole lot to the university. We didn't talk about Bijan Robinson for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? We didn't talk about Josh Moore. We didn't talk about Alfred Collins. This fan base is so tied in and understands this football team so well that you're talking about a second-team safety and his potential at linebacker. You know what I mean? Talking about Schooler and talking about Owens and talking. That's why I love doing this so much. Is because the guys who watch this channel and watch the other guys like Texas Homer, Fanatic Perspective, Dino, and these guys understand.
Around the Table Sports is on here today too, so we appreciate you being on here. Yep.
Shout out. Yep. Shout out to you as well. But no, that's why we do what we do, man. It's exciting. It's exciting. Can't get here soon enough. We're gonna hit the pads popping next Saturday. But yeah.
Just want to cover some stuff real quick. Individual players. We talked about Jordan Whittington. I have some really a note to myself. Can Sark turn him into a 5-star? He was coming out of high school. That's something I'm looking at. Obviously, want to see on Saturday too how they're utilizing Jordan Whittington. Obviously, Jake Smith's still hurt, so we won't see him. David Gabenda, man, I'm ready to see him too. Everybody keeps talking about him at linebacker. We'll see what he looks like on Saturday. Every conversation that Sark has, man, he lights up when he starts talking about David Benda. And it's not just on the football field. It's talking about leadership, about the communication piece and understanding the football game. And then Denzel Okafor, man, he's been around for 3 coaches? I think he said 3 coaches, 4 actual offensive line coaches he's been with. And I like the way he answered the question. He said, he didn't talk negative about any of those guys. He said he took something from each one of those guys that's going to make him forward going better as he puts things in his toolbox. But it sounds like he's doing really, really good things at that left guard. And me and Jeremy talked about that a little bit. They've always been on the right side. Junior Unglau's has always been on the left side. It seems like they flipped that. And Jeremy brought up a good point the other day. Is it experience with some younger guys? Because Kristen Jones playing with Denzel Okafor, and then Junior Unglau playing with obviously either Isaiah Hookfin or Andre Kirk. So and then Jake Major's just doing his Jake Major thing as a center. And then obviously Guillermo, I think they said Logan Parrs, rotating out at center as well. So it sounds like everybody's getting a little play at offensive line. And then the other note was Brendan Schooler. I think we covered that a little bit. Yeah. Brendan Schooler, a role on defense. Trying to figure out where we're at with that. So we'll kind of see where it'll tell you that if they roll him down the linebacker, they feel really good at safety. That's what it tells me. So,
that's what I'm looking for.
And then Jacoby Jones, man, really, really excited to see Jacoby Jones. It sounds like he's given these offensive line fits the last couple of weeks, as well as Ray Thornton, the transfer out of LSU, man. So recruiting news, man. Obviously, I sent Jeremy a little video clip of a little clip yesterday. If you didn't hear it on Twitter, where Michigan insiders were telling that Sark was tampering with one of their wide receivers up there, and Xavier Worthy. You can still call him a commit. Obviously, he's got a letter of intent. I don't know if he's been released that. Obviously, I don't think he need to be released at this particular point with the change to the rules in college football. It sounds like you can transfer and be available at any given point. So you got Xavier Worthy, and then like they were talking about a while ago, Ben Davis may be a shot out of Alabama. We'll kind of see where that goes, and then obviously Dewberry put us in his top 5, and he had his Texas across his heart. Makes me feel a lot better. So I think he had Texas here, A&M here, Oklahoma over here, and some Alabama and some. I think what was the other one? I think LSU or something was this 5, if I'm not mistaken. But it's nice to be in the top 5 for one of the top offensive line men in the nation. So any further thoughts, man, before we get off here today?
Man, it's just good to be back, dude. Like you said, we took not intentionally took 12 days off since our last video with Mike Roach. Phenomenal time spent. We haven't been on air since we talked to him. phenomenal time talking with him, getting his insight. Again, we'll do that more and more. He wants to come on more. We would love to have him on more. So we'll definitely have more shows with him. Just fired up, man. Excited to be back. Hit that like button. There's 77 guys in here. 83 guys in here. There's 44 likes. If you wouldn't mind, hit that like button before you leave. We really appreciate it. More content coming soon, like Clint talked about. Hopefully, a lot of 5 lists, a lot of 8 lists, a lot of 12 lists. Hopefully, we get some commitments really soon. We'll see you guys on Saturday for the spring game. More content coming soon. Just excited. Just really excited to be back on air.
Appreciate it, Scott, man. David Williams, real quick. I like Denzel Oker, but I think the best option for Texas long term might be Isaiah Hookman and Tyler Johnson at guard positions. Again, to me, it's nice bringing in new coaches, offensive line like Kyle Flood. Sarkisian said everybody starts from scratch. From scratch. Everybody's the same. And I think I heard something the other day, and I'm not. I don't want to go back to the old regime and the old quarterback, whatever the case may be. But if you go back to that Colorado game, this is when I realized that when they said that they asked Tom Herman a question about his relationship with Sam Ehlinger, and he said it's no longer a coaching but a peer relationship. And to me, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't realize during the Colorado game, I don't remember hearing that, but when you go back and rewatch it, that's exactly what it says. And again, that's that really where he put us in a position where he was going to play the guys regardless of if they deserved it or not. He was going to play those guys because those were his favorites, and that's a problem to have. So moving forward, I think it's starting from scratch. Everybody has to go out there and prove themselves, man. And the best 22 players will start on the offense, and first, best 11 on offense, best 11 on defense, man. So absolutely, man. Well, we appreciate you listening as always, man. Hopefully, you'll join us. We'll be back probably Wednesday. I don't think Jeremy's got anything crazy going on this week. I don't think I do either. I don't plan on traveling out of town. We'll probably be back Wednesday for some updates. But we appreciate you listening as always. If you have not hit that like button, please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. If you haven't told someone about us, please tell someone about us. We appreciate it as always. Hey, we're on Twitter, a lot of the time. So if you want to get into the conversation about, on Twitter, we're there as well. But you can find us on Twitter at TX Football Talk, on Facebook at Text, or on Twitter at TX Football Talk, on Facebook at Text Football Talk, and on Instagram at Text Football Talk. You can tell I haven't done that in a while. We appreciate you listening as always, and y'all have a wonderful week. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.